Thank you for staying with us. You are still watching E Central. We brought you the news. Now let's get into our hot topic conversation. As Diddy's trial continues, it's only right that we bring more updates from all the testimonies and, of course, netizens' reactions. Celebrities, people online, but joining us, international correspondent Afua Hagan. Afua, good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Afua, I'm wondering, are there any updates that stood out since we last spoke? I mean, the last time we spoke, Cassie's testimony, Cassie's mother, and a few personal staff of Diddy himself. Anything caught your attention recently?
Yeah, absolutely. Last time we spoke, the focus really was on Cassie and then on her mother. Since then, we've had former assistant Mia testifying about repeated sexual assaults and a coercive work environment during her 8-year tenure working with Diddy. We also had Capricorn Clark, who's another former assistant. They talked about being kidnapped and held at gunpoint by Diddy, as well as witnessing Diddy's violent behavior towards Cassie Ventura as well. So those kind of were the latest updates, the latest testimonies from people that we've had over the past couple of weeks. And although we've sort of moved on from Cassie Ventura's testimony and that of her mother, her name obviously keeps coming up because lots of people are talking about the violent behavior that they witnessed Diddy exhibiting towards Cassie during their relationship.
I must confess it's harder and harder to watch, to listen, to read about it, but we have to. Now, one thing was surprising. Suge Knight, one of Diddy's rivals from way back in prison, he's making headlines. He says Diddy can't be the only one held accountable, and he did say that others who were parts of it, others who played a role, maybe benefited from it, should also be named or should answer. Are there any more names being mentioned at this point in time, especially those who are popular in the limelight perhaps?
Listen, now that we're in this trial situation, it would not be a good idea for me to potentially name anybody else who could be involved in this legal battle. But Suge Knight does really have a point. He does have a point that there must have been other people involved. There were enablers that made sure that P. Diddy could go on doing these crimes that he's been accused of. And, we do have to say that he has denied all the charges against him, but he has been alleged that he's done all these terrible things and that other people were involved, that there were enablers there as well. And so Suge Knight does have a point. Those people should be on trial as well, but he wasn't doing this in a vacuum. He wasn't doing this by himself. He wasn't doing this in a void. Other people were involved too. In terms of potential names, like I said, that's not my place to start saying it could be this person, it could be that person, especially when we're in a trial situation. But like I said, he does have a point. The other people certainly were involved.
Well, a lot of people are talking about it. Like you did mention Capricorn Clark. In fact, Capricorn did talk about, how it was impossible to work anywhere else. You're stuck with Diddy, is what she said. And I'm thinking, is this a system that possibly turned a blind eye? Are we saying that not just people don't want to speak up, but people knew about it? In fact, I remember also reading that Suge Knight had said that long rumors have always been about Combs' sex life from way back in 1990s all to 2000. So my question would be, could it be possible that the system turned a blind eye up until right now? Is that what we're seeing?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is similarities to the R. Kelly case, where it was long talked about that things that were going on were untoward with R. Kelly and the relationships that he was having, particularly with underage girls and particularly with underage black girls, and that the industry turned a blind eye because it wasn't in their interest to be able to try and stop what he was doing. And absolutely, I think that would be the case with P. Diddy as well, that because he was all powerful in the industry, there were certainly people that knew the allegations against him, but chose to turn a blind eye and chose to enable him to continue doing the crimes that he's alleged he's being accused of, because it suits them better. Of course, there were the threats of violence. We knew that he had access to weapons. We know the power that he had as well. It also suited people not to get involved if they wanted their career to continue in LA, in Hollywood, in New York, wherever. So absolutely, there's a sense of complicity from the system that perhaps they knew the things that were going on, but it suited them better to not get involved, to look in the other direction and let him get on with it.
You know, Snoop Dogg talked about being shocked about the details of the trial. Donald Trump, who says he was, who we know was from a friend at least, said he also didn't know as much about the details of the trial. And I'm thinking, this was Diddy who threw these parties and everyone attended and they were friends. Why is nobody, would I say, standing up or at least making statements to support? Everyone just seems to have left and ran away from, are we expecting to see perhaps a pardon? Do you think they would ask for a pardon from Donald Trump? What do you think?
I think there's two parts to your question there. To the first part, why are so many people running in the opposite direction? Why are so many people saying they're shocked and they're disgusted? Because of the details that are coming out in court. Nobody wants to be associated with that. Nobody wants to say that they knew and they're okay with it and perhaps this, that, and the other thing. Of course not. In terms of could there be a pardon, the problem with Donald Trump is he's very unpredictable, so you absolutely never know. He said in the Oval Office he doesn't know too much about it. He hasn't been following the case. He also said he's not going to do something that's bad for the country. And he also said that even if the person doesn't like me, that won't affect how I feel about them. That's fundamentally not true. We know that Donald Trump is every day involved in a popularity contest when it comes to himself. He's completely unpredictable. So we have no clue, no idea if he will pardon P. Diddy or not. It literally will depend on how he's feeling on that particular Wednesday. So when it comes to that, I really cannot give you an answer. Whether he will be asked, I'm sure he will be asked, depending on the outcome of the case. If he is convicted, if he's sentenced to life in prison, which could happen for sex trafficking, sexual assault, or anything of the magnitude of those charges, if that happens, if he's given jail time, I think perhaps they could ask for a pardon. But could I predict it? Absolutely not.
Well, I guess only time can tell. All we have to do is wait and go through every single witness and their testimony, which is hard, but justice has to take its full course. Afua, I want to say thank you for spending time with us and giving us the updates. We appreciate it.